Ready, Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, I don't want to belabor this point, but I stand, as I did last week, to speak against this measure. I think it's unnecessary, and I think that we should not proceed forward. Number one, I think it's overbroad, and I have a deep concern, as I've articulated, and I know we'll have that matter heard in committee on the question of the misdemeanor and its impact to immigrants who are new arrivals to the city of Los Angeles. I've spoken to other attorneys, but most significantly, I have a memo from Peter Shea, the president of the Center for Human Rights. He's one of the most significant attorneys on behalf of immigrants, and raised several very important and critical points with respect to the impact of a misdemeanor on immigrants who may be here. The prospects that they could likely be considered a public charge, the prospects of that this could be considered acts of moral turpitude, the prospects that this could exceed time limits that are placed in there. Serious concerns that impact immigrants who are new arrivals, who come here only to realize their hopes and dreams and to integrate into our society. That this could have an adverse impact on them. I've raised that concern and will continue to raise that. I also noted that I think that this law is unnecessary because we have a whole plethora of laws that exist to address many of the very specific concerns that all of us have: public drunkenness, public urination, defecation, ADA compliance, a whole range of laws that are in our toolbox that should be utilized. There's nothing that gives me confidence that adding a new law will allow us to move forward to address this. I've raised a concern that we don't have adequate infrastructure, that we're moving this bill ahead of our ability to implement it. And so we know that 100% of the voluntary storage is filled up. We know that 80% of the involuntary storage is filled up. And so, frankly, we're implementing a new law. We're going to put a new law in the books for which we only have a 10% capacity to execute. I don't see why we would proceed in that manner. It seems that we're going forward backward. Finally, all right, let me add, I have a concern that we leap forward with these proposals, and then we go to court, and then we lose, and then we pay fees. And I think this is one of those moments for us to step back and implement the laws that we have, and that would be sufficient for us at this very critical moment as we address homelessness. And finally, let me say that at some point, and this is the point that I suggest, that we just have to change the direction of our policies towards poor people and the homeless in the city. We cannot and we can no longer continue to criminalize them, that we should have a war on poverty, not a war on the poor, and that we must begin that. We had an incredible meeting the other day led by Councilmember Huizar. That's where our energy and our resources should be. We are the policy body of this great city. We are the policymakers of this city, and we should not proceed with laws that seem to be put forward in an urgent manner, driven by other laws that were put forward. Remember, we stand here today prepared to continue down a strategy that has failed us simply because there is an injunction in a small part of downtown Los Angeles. That simply is not the resolution that we need at this moment. It takes us in the wrong direction. For that, I raise my objection. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Fuentes.